What's up, guys? Welcome back. Part 3 of my complete Blu-ray collection. We left off at the C's before, so let's jump right in to the D's. We'll waste no time here. Let me find the D's. There they are. Alright, so starting off here with the Da Vinci Code. Daddy's Home. Again, I'm a pretty big Will Ferrell fan. That one was alright. Dallas Buyers Club. Dan in Real Life. Danny the Dog. The title I very much prefer. I imported this Blu-ray before it was released in North America. I was a little bummed out the spine was in Japanese. Wouldn't bother me if it was a Japanese film, but it's a Japanese release of a English language film, but still, it doesn't matter. That's still a cool Blu-ray. The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. So I gotta get those on 4K. I think everyone says I have to get those on 4K when they don't. Dark Shadows. Dark Water. I actually really like this. I think it's one of the better horror remakes. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Deer Hunter, Deja Vu. If I remember correctly, this was another one of the first Blu-rays I bought. I think I bought Pirates of the Caribbean, House of Flying Daggers, and Deja Vu. Delirious, another underrated John Candy comedy. A film I adore quite a bit. The Descendants. Devil Wears Prada. The Devil's Rejects. Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Diary of a Wimpy Kid Roderick Rules. I actually quite enjoy at least the original 3 or 4. I know it was inevitable they'd have to recast, but I have no interest in the newest one. So another box set I got rid of in place of individually packaged Blu-rays was the Die Hard box set. So there's Die Hard, Die Hard 2, and Die Hard with a Vengeance. Now, I'll get to it eventually. I have Live Free or Die Hard in the L's. Part of me wants to import the UK Die Hard, which is Die Hard 4.0, just so it can sit in the shelf beside those. Dirty Dancing, District 9, Disturbia, another pretty decent remake. I think it kind of goes its own direction enough that you can't really say it's exactly like Rear Window. I mean, it's clearly a remake, but I think it holds its own. Django Unchained, my second or third favorite movie of all time, depending on my mood. Dogma. Don't Breathe. Doubt. Downfall, which recently got a Shout Select release, so I gotta upgrade to that eventually. Some more drives that I have. This is I believe the UK icon, the UK release of Drive. The German release, I believe this is. And the US release, all with different covers, which is why I got them. Due Date, one of the better comedies I've seen in the last several years. Dumb and Dumber, The Eagle Has Landed, Eastern Promises, Ed Wood, my favorite Tim Burton film by a landslide. Ed TV, Edward Scissorhands, another one of my favorite Burton films. Whoa. Elf. You may remember I had the Elf Steelbook. I've gotten rid of the Steelbook now. I just have the standard one. End of Days. Enemy. One of the best movies I've seen in a very long time. My favorite Villeneuve film as well. Enemy of the State. Enter the Dragon. Not my favorite Bruce Lee movie, but it's pretty good. Equilibrium. Escape from LA. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. A very underrated movie. Not even underrated. I don't think anyone ever talks about this. It was instantly forgotten. But, you know, if you can get around the terrible box art, it's a really, really good movie and one of De Niro's best recent performances. Everything Must Go. Probably, I would say, the best horror remake we've had in a very long time. I really dig this a lot. Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2. Love that box art. Ex Machina. Executive Decision. Nowadays, it's Kurt Russell. Executive Decision. I remember when this came out, it was marketed as a Steven Seagal film. And he dies in like the first 5 minutes. The Eye. Eyes Wide Shut. The Family. Another really underrated comedy. Another one of De Niro's better performances as well. Recently. The Family Man. My favorite Nicolas Cage movie. I love this. It's seasonal, but it's technically a Christmas movie, but it works. You can watch it any time of the year because it's kind of like I think it was touted as like a kind of like a, what do you want to call it? There's a word for it, I'm forgetting, but a not a remake of It's a Wonderful Life, but something kind of inspired by the idea behind It's a Wonderful Life. And it's like It's a Wonderful Life. People tend to watch it at Christmas, but it works any time of the year. And it's really good. Fanboys. I bought the UK Blu-ray because I just thought it looked really nice. Fantastic Four. Rise of the Silver Surfer. One of my guilty pleasures are superhero movies. And I will own most of them. There's a bunch I don't have, but I don't necessarily like these Fantastic Four movies, but I still have at least this one. But I thought the Silver Surfer was not terrible. He was just in a terrible movie. The first one was okay. This one is actually terrible. I think I was mixing them up in my head. But Silver Surfer was pretty cool. Fant Four Stick. This nobody really makes the comparison, but this suffered the same fate Justice League did. There was a good movie in the works, and then it just got manhandled by executives and studio interference and edits and cuts and directors being forced out. And we got this terrible hack job that is pretty decent for like the first half and then just drops off a cliff. The Justice League's result wasn't as bad as this, but it's still same thing. Fargo. Fast Times at Ridgemount High. Fearless. Whoa. Fences. Field of Dreams. Fifth Element. Oh, yeah, we're in the F's now, by the way. Not that I really have to. You all know the letters. The Five Estate. Fifth Estate. The Fighter. Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. Not a bad... I haven't watched this in years. It's probably pretty dated now, but I remember people were so upset that this was a Final Fantasy movie, but it holds up. Anyway, at the time, it held up on its own, even without the Final Fantasy name. Finders Keepers, a nice old caper comedy. Finding Neverland. This is a try not to cry challenge. Fist of Legend. 5-Year Engagement with this guy who was a very unknown person at the time. I remember he was funny in it and had no idea who that guy was. Flags of Our Fathers. Fletch. The Flowers of War. relatively unknown Christian Bale role in a pretty decent. It's a pretty decent film. I think it got a domestic release. I mean, it has Christian Bale in it, so I'm sure it probably did. I remember picking up this Blu-ray and in Chinatown and watching it without even hearing of it before, and pretty sure it came here domestically, like officially. I don't know what I just said. I totally fumbled through those words. What I tried to say is, I'm pretty sure this got a domestic release, but I found this Blu-ray in Chinatown before that. Wow. Okay, anyway. For the love of the game. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I'm not a big fan of this, to be honest with you. It was okay, but I have no interest to watch it again. Forrest Gump. Four Christmases. Say what you will, I don't mind this movie. We watch it every year in December as part of our Christmas rotation. And it's got some pretty funny moments. Jon Favreau, what's the other guy? A country singer that plays his brothers are fantastic. Wow, look at that blurry red as I try to read. The Tim McGraw and Jon Favreau play Vince Vaughn's brothers, and they are really good. Foxcatcher. Oh, and Robert Duvall. I forgot Robert Duvall is awesome in that too. And Sissy Spacek. Everybody. It's just a good... Wow. There we go. I promise you I've not been drinking. Fred Claus. I like this quite a bit too. Maybe I'm a sucker for Vince Vaughn Christmas movies. I don't know. Fright Night. Another solid remake. The Front Line. Frost Nixon. Full Metal... Oh, I can rest my arm on this table here. Full Metal Jacket. G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe. I have never watched this before. G.I. Joe Retaliation. Pretty cool cover, but never watched it. Galaxy Quest. My favorite Alan Rickman performance. And just an overall solid sci-fi comedy. It's a class. It's as we move on, it becomes more and more of a comedy classic, in my opinion. You just cannot go wrong with Galaxy Quest. Gangs of New York. Gangster Squad. Get Hard. I'm not a big Kevin Hart fan. I liked him in Jumanji, but he didn't do much for me in that. The Ghost and the Chicken. Oh, something's sticking. Ghost in the Shell. My favorite film of last year. A Ghost Story. I love it so much. I'm not going to talk about it. Just if you haven't seen it, watch it. That's all I'm going to say. Ghostbusters. Glengarry Glen Ross. God Told Me To. This is kind of holds some weight in today with everything going on. Golden Compass. I like this quite a bit, actually. It's a shame it didn't become a thing. Gone Baby Gone. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That awesome artwork. I love these KL Studio Classic releases. They're right up there with like a Shout Factory or Criterion or Arrow. They just release really, really good stuff, and they all have great artwork. And for those who like consistency, if you have a large enough collection of them, all the spines are all the same black and white, so they kind of look very nice together. I've had them separated before, but I've kind of filed them back in, so I don't have a lot of them. The Graduate. Grand Budapest Hotel, which I believe we are still waiting for the Criterion. Yes, we are. So let's get that out, Criterion, so we can complete our Wes Anderson Criterion collection. Grease. The Great Gatsby. The Great Outdoors, one of my favorite comedies of all time. And that box art is perfect. That's the best possible poster you could use for that movie. Sadly, haven't watched this yet. I hear good things. Green Room. Grindhouse, not a fan of this. I prefer to get the individual releases sometime. The Grudge. Another one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. The Guest. Such a good movie. If you haven't seen this or even heard of it, check it out. It's phenomenal. Hancock, another good first half. Then it falls apart. And Hang 'em High. Okay, on to the next shelf. I'm much lower to the ground, so I'm a little awkward moving here, so I apologize. So, The Hangover, Happy Death Day, Hard Boiled, and then the Harry Potters, which are actually missing Deathly Hallows Part 1, which is lent out to a friend who's had it for like 2 years. So, I got to pretty much rebuy Deathly Hallows Part 1. So, and I like these versions with the artwork. They all look very nice together, and they've been re-released a few times, but I much prefer these original ones. So, just quickly, Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, my personal favorite, Order of the Phoenix. I don't know why it is, but it just is. Half-Blood Prince, which I also like quite a bit. And then Deathly Hallows Part 2. Like I said, Part 1 is lent out, but probably has to be repurchased. The Hateful Eight. This is the UK release. And then the US release. Both are not unopened, but I've watched it many times. I've watched the Steelbook, but I haven't opened those two yet. Let me just... Okay... Heat, Hellboy 2, let me just get a little closer there, Hellraiser. This Midnight Madness series is pretty cool. I only have a couple of them, but it's a nice little line. This red case is not original. This came from, I upgraded I think it was Age of Ultron, and I was selling off the original one I had, but I wanted to keep the red case, so I switched it out or looked for something cool that would look or something that would look nice in a red case. And I thought Hellraiser looked pretty good, so I put that in it. The Help, Hereafter, Hitch. I really hate this movie. Hitchhike, nice, an Italian thriller with Franco Nero not playing Django. Hitchcock, Hollywoodland, still no North American Blu-ray release for this, if you can believe it. It's crazy. It got a... no, I don't have it anymore, but it had a... Yeah, I had to double check. It got an HD DVD release, but they never bothered with a Blu-ray. Horrible Bosses. The Host. Hot Fuzz. Let me move on back a little bit here. House of a Thousand Corpses. I'm actually a pretty big Rob Zombie fan. I really like his movies. Halloween 2 is troublesome, but I still like most of his movies anyway. House of Flying Daggers. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I always have a hard time deciding where to file this. Sometimes I think it should go in Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas under D. But I think I stick with what my Film Aficionado database files it under. And they put it under the Grinch, so that's where I put it. Hugo, one of Scorsese's best films. Absolute masterpiece that does not get the love it deserves. If you're watching a YouTube video of somebody showing off their Blu-rays, you probably are a pretty big film fan, and you probably have seen this, and you probably love it. But if you haven't, I mean, this is just a love letter to film. Just the same as Cinema Paradiso or The Artist. It's just something that is just out there to just show the love that Scorsese has for film and film preservation, and it's so good. Hulk, the MCU's redheaded stepchild that people refuse to accept as part of the MCU, though it kind of sort of is. They called it a semi-sequel when Incredible Hulk came out. So if Incredible Hulk was a semi-sequel to this, it's kind of in the MCU, but as you can see, I don't include it in with the MCU ones anyway. So The Hurt Locker, I, Robot, I Saw the Devil, one of my favorite Korean films, Itchy the Killer, The Ides of March, I'm a Cyborg, a relatively unknown Park Chan-wook film that doesn't have a North American release. I got this from the UK, as you can see, and I love that movie so much. Of course, I love Park Chan-wook's entire catalog, so it kind of goes without saying. I'm Still Here. I was a pretty big fan of that. I love when this was going on. I kind of suspected it was all an act, but I just went along with it anyway because it was so much fun. In the Heart of the Sea, the Infernal Affairs trilogy, 1, 2, and 3. I think it's pretty much common knowledge that The Departed was a remake of this trilogy. Not just Infernal Affairs, but they take elements from all three and work them into The Departed very well. So that's why there's no need for a sequel to The Departed. Inferno, Informant, Inglourious Bastards, love that artwork. Initial D, Invictus, Iron Man, just the original Paramount release. It Comes at Night, I Love You Man, pretty funny. It Follows, one of my maybe my favorite horror, like my favorite original horror film in a very long time. I love It Follows. First Strike, I have it filed under Jackie Chan's First Strike, which I really shouldn't, but I do. Jacob's Ladder, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Jingle All the Way, another one of the few archive collections I have, Joe Versus the Volcano, another great early Tom Hanks film. JSA, I think I told this story last time I did a video, but I ordered it from, it's a Korean film, I ordered it from Amazon Japan, has no English subtitles. I can still watch it because I've seen it so much. I can kind of follow along, but still kind of a bummer that... So I either have to find one that has subtitles or just learn Korean, one or the other. The Judge, Julie and Julia, Juno, Jurassic World, which my son is obsessed with right now. The Kids Are All Right, Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2. Oh, there's something else there. What's there? Oh, The Killer. Killzone. Another one of my favorite films of last year. I think this was, I had this like number 3 spot. The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Or number... Wait a minute. No. Hold on. This was my number 1 film. I apologize. A Ghost Story I think I had at number 2. This was my number 1 film of last year. I have a hard time between this, A Ghost Story, and Mother. Those were my top 3, and they're pretty interchangeable anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but it's really good. Killzone, Killing Them Softly, King of Comedy, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and Knocked Up. I'm going to end it at the K's today. We're moving along pretty nicely, I'd say. Not too much left to go. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.